But looking back in history, nobody ever fought a war alone. And so here, this is what I found, is that this is the brother and sisterhood that gets you through the war. You can't do it by yourself.
All right, well, tell them a little about your family and kids, and roll into service, a little bit about service, much as you were willing to share.
Mark Burrows, I'm out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Nicole, my wife, and I have been doing this for about 2.5 years. Jake Milkraus is our upline. I was in the Navy 8 years right out of high school, and then loved my time in the Navy. I really did. And then I switched to the Army so I could fly. So I went to Warrant Officer Flight Training, learned to fly helicopters. And then 9/11 happened, and I remember being in the desert, sleeping under a helicopter in the sand and wondering why the hell I left the Navy. So I had hot chow, had ice cream, air conditioning, and now I'm in the desert sleeping under a helicopter in the sand. So did military 23 years, retired in 2017. Did 2 tours in Iraq and 2 in Afghanistan. And then that pretty much took up most of my career because we were gone all the time, my Army part.
So Afghanistan, what was going on there?
Well, basically Iraq. I mean, it's just, the insurgents kind of come in and taking everything over. And then, we as the United States decided to go in, and help out the civilian population and kind of stabilize the region. And so that was our job, is just to support the ground forces, because Jake and I flew. So you imagine you're the ground commander doing your thing. We're the monkeys above you watching for all the guys trying to come flank you, and you're not ready for it. Say, hey, look out to the left. You got some guys coming. Right after the Army, I started flying for a hospital network, flying medevac helicopters. I was already a helicopter pilot, and helping people was kind of my nature. So I fell into that and did that until August of this year. And then at our conference in Miami, I made the decision that this is where I needed to devote my time. And so I quit that. I've been here full-time since August.
My name's Jake Kraus, and I'm married to my lovely and beautiful wife, Belle. She's a veteran as well. She spent 8 years in the Army. She was a bomb disposal technician. We were in bomb disposal school together, and we did that together for about 8 years, and we both got out. So right before 9/11, we'd done 8 years. We'd done our service. Wasn't a lot going on. I actually left the service, and then very quickly 9/11 kicked off. I had felt this pull pulling me back in, because the war was going on in Iraq. Things were going on in Afghanistan. And so I finished up school, applied for flight school as a civilian and got accepted, came back in. And that's when I met Mark. We were flying Kiowa Warriors together, which is a scout attack helicopter. And we did Iraq together. We did Afghanistan together. And these are year-long deployments, by the way, so longer than a year, actually. One was 15 months, one was 12 months. Did those 2 tours in flying Kiowas, and then Tim Long, who is also thankfully on our team. I love him to death, but he was telling me about this special unit that he was in. It's called the Night Stalkers. It's a special operations helicopter unit that flies Navy SEALs, Army Rangers. Everybody knows about them in Army aviation, but I didn't really see that as an opportunity for me, but Tim encouraged me to try out. About 90% of the applications that go into them get thrown in the trash, and of the 10% that are left, they take about half of those. Wow. So it was a real honor to get accepted to them. I never thought it would happen in a million years, but it did. And so I spent the last half of my flying career flying with those folks. So we had the honor to, fly all of those different special operations units into different parts of Afghanistan, Asia, on missions that, are somewhat sensitive. And then my buddy Brandon, who's well known in the special operations community. Brandon, he's a legend. He really is. He's been on missions that they've made movies from. And he was telling me one day, he said, "Hey, what are you going to do when you get out?" And I said, "I don't know yet. Probably fly helicopters, do something like EMS." And he said, "What about insurance?" And I said, "Hell no. There's no way I'm going to do that," because I had a misconception of what it was like. I pictured carrying a briefcase, a brown suit, sweating, chasing people down, trying to sell them insurance. But then I got around the Alliance and I realized, these are just people that are focused, ambitious, they're urgent, they're trying to make money for their family, just like was important to me, was to build a legacy. And they had that same camaraderie that I found in the special operations community and in the regular Army community. That same camaraderie was here. And it's because it was full of people that were overcoming their fears and that they were doing it anyway. That's what sold me, was the culture. And then I realized, okay, I had a misconception, and then we both jumped in and went for it. Super grateful, not just financially, but the mindset change that we've had and the legacy that we're building for our family. It's not just about the money. It has made us better people. The military really helped with certain things, but Andy is expanding our mind into what we never dreamed was possible.
And you said something earlier that really struck me about going to war on something. Here people are going to war on poverty, or maybe it's something in your past. Maybe you're trying to outrun something. But looking back in history, nobody ever fought a war alone. And so here, that's what I found, is that this is the brother and sisterhood that gets you through the war. You can't do it by yourself. And so the statue, if you guys ever look it up, Jake and I were in the 10th Mountain Division. It traces its history back to World War II and the fight in Italy, and they're climbing the mountains and stuff. And so there's a statue. If you look it up, it's in Fort Drum, New York, and it's a soldier scaling a mountain, like heavy pack, rifles, weapons. He's almost at the top. But there's another soldier on top of the mountain putting his hand down and pulling him up. And that's the alliance. If you just reach up for help, somebody will be there to help pull you up. And that's what I saw here.
That's good stuff.
That's the alliance piece to me.
Veterans of America, thank you so much for what you do. My heart goes out. I'm flanked by some of the most important, most brave veterans I've ever met in my life. And to you that give so much, thank you so much for the sacrifices. You put your children and family first by leading, not putting them in front of you and making of them an excuse, but you go out there and you have your country and your family and your wife and your kids and your family, even the protesters that are protesting you. You go out and you put you first because you have a mission to serve God, a mission to serve the country. Thank you so much for your sacrifices. I can't imagine it. I'd like to introduce these guys and let them introduce themselves, but thank you and everybody like them, what you do. And let me add in people that are not just military, but the police officers and medics and anybody that's serving out there that puts yourself on the front line at risk. And I just, my heart goes out. Thank you so much. We wouldn't live in the greatest country in the world if it wasn't for people like you. Thank you for serving. We recognize you today and every day, 24/7, baby. I'm in 24/7. Are you? We appreciate you. Woo. Woo.